Hello, busy internets, and welcome to the episode 3 of the fastest of the fittest. Yes, I'm terrible at putting my words together. Anyway, here we go. First gear, I have managed to turn ESC off, and I've for some reason gone to the interior view. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. That's so I say one more time to get this correct. Oof. That was bad. But you know what? It wasn't necessarily my fault. Anyway, I did try a few of these, getting them over this hill up here. And this was the best of them. It's the SES version, which is the most luxurious of them all. And you'll see, it does struggle a bit to get over there, but the others just refuse to. This has a 150 horsepower engine and a 4-speed auto, and I didn't think it would work the best of them all, but it actually did. Now I've lost the front bumper and the front bonnet? No, there's only one bonnet and it's at the front. Well, that's flapping around. Oh dear, I've got an open diff and it's a bit stuck. Oh dear, why? I have recovered it now, and despite my own stupidity, I should be able to get it going. Oh, it's recovered itself. I thought I was going to have to pull it up. Now, this is quite a one. I'm not going to count this against it though, because I'm the one that got it pointing this way. I'll just turn the car around, lose a headlight in the process, but they're not necessary for this, so that's okay. And I'll resume from here, because things are going well now. Well, a lie, really. They're not. The entire front end is caved, but it looks like where it's most important has not failed this time. I had two other ones where I made stupid mistakes with my driving, but this one, I feel it's more on the car. There's a bit of bodywork. You'll see that bit of bodywork at the front right is hanging off, but it's not affecting the way it drives. It actually drives, contrary to how you may believe, it drives really well. It is all just mainly cosmetic damage. Don't want to hit that rock. I just have to take more care than I feel I ought to have to. And you'll see that there, it was falling off a cliff. That wasn't really the car's fault though, it just got into such a situation, and it's got an open diff. I didn't bother changing that, it doesn't need it changing, it's just, it did really count against it at that particular point in a way I didn't think it would. I reckon this could be reasonably quick. It's not as such a quick car, but it seems like it has what's necessary. I don't know, as I say that, the radiator isn't smoking, I don't believe. Is it? Maybe it is. Oh dear, this looks like it's going to overheat, but I remember there was that Ibishu Chazai, was it? Oh dear, the front end is very low on this. It doesn't seem to like taking bumps and whatever at all. It looks like the front suspension has completely collapsed on the left side. It's steering okay, yes, but it has completely collapsed. And I need to actually manually change gear, I think. So, oh, I can't manually change gear. I'm forgetting. There was one of these that was a dual clutch. This is not the dual clutch. This is just a 4-speed auto because, well, it made it over that particular jump a bit better. At one point it did. It wouldn't now. I can tell it's not going to make a second lap. Ooh. I was taking a bit of a risk going on that side, but I got through. It seems to be doing fine on this downhill section, even if it is getting bobbled about a bit. Come on. There we are. It's actually getting going though. I mean, it's definitely not going to be the slowest on the leaderboard if I hit the finish. I may even beat the Chazai, to be honest, because the Chazai was also in a bit of a state. Both of these vehicles being regular front wheel drives are struggling. Oh dear, it feels like I've lost power. It's got 150 to begin with, so it's not exactly an underpowered vehicle, but it's not quick either, so you do feel the loss of power. Ooh, yeah, that was actually quite nice over there. I just have to be careful. I think as long as I'm careful now, the worst of it is over. The worst of the rocky part is over. Making a second lap, it will either overheat or it just won't make the hill at this stage, because that's not going to last. It may have just enough life left in the engine to do one lap, so I'm hoping that's the case. It did lose the front bumper very early on. I mean, the front bumper must have been held on by blue tack or something, because it's not the strongest bond in the world. Oh dear, don't want to go and push that corner too hard. As I say though, for a front suspension that is completely collapsed, that is doing surprisingly well. You'd think it wouldn't drive, but it does. Yes, it veers to the left slightly, but it drives incredibly well for what's gone on. I mean, this is basically a Ford Focus, I'll say that now. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but it's a Gavril Vertex for law and copyright reasons. There we go. I have to say, it doesn't sound very exciting. Probably because the exhaust is still on. I reckon if the exhaust gets knocked off at one point, this will suddenly sound a lot more exciting and a lot more ear-destroyingly loud. Come on. I'm losing more power, I feel. But hey, it's not tipping over, or almost tipping over, should I say, like a minivan. Oh, I had a bit of struggle steering there. It did do it, but it had struggles. Seems to steer to the right a lot more easily. And now, yeah, it's definitely veering to the left, but it's doing it. It's going. And I'm not having any particular engine problems showing. It just seems to be overheating. 648, I don't know. Is that a good time? Probably. Hi, bumper. Come on. I think I'm in second gear now, but it's so hard to tell. Right, can we make it up the hill? If anything will destroy it, yeah. It's done a chazai. That's what I think we'll call it. Mind, I can always back up and give it one more try. I'm going to have to loosen it here because it's just completely stuck. But I can always give it a backup another try, but I don't think I will go any quicker. Just because I kind of have to push the cars here is why I'm going to do it. Right, into drive. I don't think it has the power now. Yeah, you see that? It's losing power. I also just realised it has drums on the back. But look at the state of that front end. And to think it finished like this as well. Does that light still work? It does. The other light would probably still work if I didn't tear it off. But anyway. Wait a minute. The side where I tore the light off isn't actually the side with a damaged fender. Okay. Well. Looks like the car has found a new rock to kiss. So with that being said and done, let's move on to our next vehicle. Okay, so next up I have a car with one of the best features ever. Yep, it has pop-up headlights. And this is a Porsche 944, if you haven't worked that out already. It, for some reason, spawned with no tyres on. So I've just added 205/55 sport tyres. Quite some decent sidewall there, which I reckon will help, as older cars do tend to have sidewall on them, unlike more modern cars where they have virtually nothing. One of the reasons I don't want a brand new car. But anyway, we do have to get going. This, I didn't see any problem getting over the kind of hump up here, so along we go. Oh dear. Again, nobody saw that. It's just, I think that's a new rule I'm going to create as of right now. If I take the wheel out on that rock there, the car gets another try. At least if it's the first lap, because it's just not fair when the car's like, that is an insta-destroyer, insta-killer for the wheels, so... Yeah, there we go. I'm out of the turbo now, but I got over that surprisingly smoothly. Probably one of the smoothest climbs of all, actually. Had a bit of a bump there. Yeah, this is, as you'll tell, actually a much better rally car than the... what was it? The Gavril? I was going to say Ford, but no. For beam reasons, it's a Gavril. Anyway, Oh, bit to the outside there, more than I probably should have been. Come on. Gently does it. I've used the Turbo S here, but there is actually a rally version. I just didn't want to use that because I feel this car is the one people want, if that makes sense. It's a car that people desire. The rally version is more like a modified race vehicle. It's not the desirable factory model like this is, so I just decided I would use the best factory model of car available. Anyway, there's also the suspension, yeah. A rally car will more likely have suspension designed for this kind of thing, so it's less exciting to see whether or not it will actually survive. But my reason for mainly choosing this was because we've had a German estate car, but we haven't had a German sports car. And as I was saying with the Vertex, the what's it called? The Roth Alpha deserves another chance. So I'm going to use another one of those because I think I used one which wasn't good on the slope. And as I say, it can vary on these cars. Although the Porsche 944, it seems to be consistently pretty good at getting over that. Just, I don't know why. I'm guessing it's a combination of the half-decent sidewall and the... oh dear. The engine was starved of oil, but it was a combination of a decent sidewall and probably suspension which isn't absurdly stiff. So I've managed to tip this onto its roof and now it's veering to the right. I feel like the right wheel may not be doing much anymore. Oh no, it does steer and it steers okay. But I'm not helping matters by keeping bashing it into a rock wall. Oh dear, come on, you can do it, Porsche, I know you can. Why do you keep getting attracted to kissing those rocks? The alignment of this car is badly off. It just wants to pull to the right quite badly. Which is the opposite of a Ford, because this doesn't look too badly damaged, yet it's pulling horrendously. The Ford, it looked like the front end had entirely collapsed on that, but it still drove quite well. So, it's quite an interesting thing. I probably won't be able to carry as much speed as I like here, just because of the handling being as messed up as it is. I'm still travelling at 40 miles per hour. I have some pace behind it, but I feel if I push it beyond 40, I'll just lose control and then lose even more time. I say that, I am pushing it beyond 40. Oh dear, 55, that is just far too much speed, given the state this car is in. Come on. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Sorry. I couldn't think of anything else to say as I was desperately trying to stabilise this. Because it might not look it, but I am steering so much, but I can't just steer too much to the left or it will turn left. Because it's still turning left just fine, but it pulls chronically to the right. And as I say, the alignment is messed up. It's not broken parts of the car as such, but just the alignment of the entire vehicle is badly messed up. Has that fixed it? No, it hasn't. I was just thinking for a moment maybe smashing that hill in such a way would have fixed it. Keeping it in third and revving it lower does seem to be helping. I feel this is definitely going to be faster than the Ford. It's just not as nice a drive, because even though the Ford was in a chronic state of disrepair, it was still a nicer thing to drive. I reckon this can do a second lap though. I don't believe it's overheating or anything of the such. I didn't really get a good look at the temperature gauge, but anyway. Yeah, it's definitely not overheating. I say that as I need to watch where I'm actually driving. Yeah, but remember the Skoda I think did quite decently, even though that thing has no outright speed, just because it was a fairly good stable vehicle overall. Gently does it into here. I don't want to do that and smash it into that rock. I came so close to doing such though, because it wouldn't be any more chances now it's on the next lap. But yeah, the powertrain itself is in very healthy condition, which is nice. Leap over there. I don't think that was quite as smooth as the first one. If anything, it was going too fast. Whereas the first one was just perfect. Although that corner was better. That corner was smoother, gently over here. Took a bit of a hit on the rear suspension, but this thing is fairly resilient. There we go. Managed to avoid hitting that rock. It does spin the rear wheels a bit. Now, the gaff wheel spinning the front wheels wasn't too much of a problem because, well, the thing maintained its cornering balance till the very end. Had a bit of a knock on the wall there, but I think it just hit the front bumper and maybe bumper bar, but not the actual important bodywork and wheel axle and all that were around that kind of area. So things are going okay, things are going well. I feel like I'm going slow. Oh dear. Actually, maybe that has helped it. I took a good smash there, but it's still, I believe, steering. Gently over here. Keeping it in first gear. I can move up to second now. Oh. I was hearing scraping. It was a front bumper going under. I guess it just couldn't hold on anymore. I think I fixed the handling by smashing the left side. Well, not completely fixed it. It's now pulling to a Y, but I think it's slightly better. I reckon, weird as this sounds, I reckon I can carry more speed. Could it be the rare example of a car that actually goes quicker on the second one? That would be something rare. I mean, this is also spending so much time in first gear as well. That is another rare thing. Usually you'd shift up for at least some of the time, even in a broken car, but this, where it's just so much power behind it, something like 250 horsepower, maybe a bit more, and that means that you really do get a move on. I think part of the reason this is surviving, maybe because it's a sports car, it may be designed to take the abuse of harder track work. It is also a older German car where I think they were quite solidly engineered things for a time at least, and then they just moved on to, you know, shoving loads of technology into everything. But back in the day, I think German cars were some of the better ones available for solidity and reliability. Oddly, I've lost my left mirror, which is interesting because that's the one that's not on the side of a cliff face. Yeah, you'll see it sliding a bit here, but that's more power sliding. That's not to do with the alignment. The alignment is actually nowhere near as bad as it was. It is steering to the right, but nowhere near as bad. Oh dear. Yeah. Doesn't look like I'm able to carry more speed. I think it's just the sport tyres on the dirt. They just give up a bit too easily. They're only 205s, yes. Not big tyres for something with 250 horsepower. Slow it down into here. Gently goes. I do reckon this is going to be quicker on the first lap though, because now I know where I'm going, and the radiator in this is incredibly well protected. It actually reminds me of a Skoda in that, but it doesn't tip over like that did, or lean over. The Skoda was solid. The Skoda tended to get damage to the actual wheels themselves. That's something I noticed about that. This, it's drawing a lot of parallels actually, which is interesting. The Skoda, I don't know, but it may have had bits of Volkswagen Audi Group back then. I know Volkswagen Audi Group did eventually buy out Skoda, but I think that one in particular was made before buyout. They may have still used Volkswagen parts though. And then this Porsche, naturally, it's a Porsche, so it's part of Volkswagen Audi Group. At least I think in this point in time they were, and up until today. So on we go. I'm going to just floor it now. No point in holding back. Well, maybe there's a little point in holding back. Oh well. I'll make it work. There we go. It was quicker, but that end was just a bit of a mess. Still, 5 minutes 4. That is a fast time. I wonder. I've got one light way pushed down there, and then, oh, that light wants to come up. It's really trying. Come up, you can make it. You can make it. Yeah. I think it's time to move on to the next vehicle now the headlight has risen. Okay, so here we have a V10 D-Series camper. Now this camper up there is a very old mod, and I have affixed it to a short wheelbase dually kind of medium duty truck, I would say, but comparative to a weight it's probably heavy duty. Anyway, yeah, I put this together. It's also got the V10 mod and naturally a sat nav because I decided that would be something fitting of it. It's a very old mod, this camper though, and it's obviously not had the most time put into developing it, but I definitely appreciate it. And there's the engine down there. I think it's only showing the V8 model, but you know, we don't look at it most of the time, so that's okay. It doesn't tend to roll. I reckon the dualies help massively with that, and it's also rear drive, I'll say that now. So no transfer case, I think you can see that right there. Pretty basic, but you know what? It's one of these things I love about American cars. The same, they put V8s in not V8s, they put V10s in vans. I mean, can you imagine the Germans putting a V10 in a van? I'm going to have to drive from the interior view because there's no way to drive it sensibly from behind. Well, there's no way to drive this sensibly at all, let's be entirely honest. But I tried driving it before and I couldn't really see where I was going there. I couldn't carry any speed because of that, and I just fell off a cliff in one of the tighter parts, which was not the vehicle's fault, but it was just that I couldn't see where the front and rear wheels were, so it just flew off the cliff when one of the dually axles went. Right, here we go. This does not drive badly at all. I think it's a combination of the dualies and the short wheelbase. They give it plenty of grip, but it doesn't understeer. Not particularly, at least. There's no supercharger as well, I just decided this bonnet looked cool. That's why I've put it on here. Anyway, along we go. Dear me, this is where I fell off, so I'm going to go extra carefully here. Oh, come on, dualies, you found the grip. Good job. It's just going over here, though. So nice, so floaty. I believe I have about 300 horsepower in this, so it's plenty powerful. I'm not going to be struggling for power, thanks to having my V10 as well. Like, this does handle like a proper sports car, though, which I wouldn't think I'd say. I mean, besides the high centre of gravity, that cannot be denied, but aside from that, it handles somewhat like a sports car. It's craziness. Oh, and I'm not scared of it tipping over in the slightest. You mean? I mean, I think that would be a complaint, but I'm just not afraid of that happening to it. Oh, I can't really see where I'm going because the bonnet's so flat. It doesn't curve away at all, and that caused a bit of problems with visibility there. But I can see well enough. I mean, you know, the visibility isn't that bad. Thanks to the skinny pillars here, that helps as well. If I went into a modern ETK 800, that would not be the case. Oh, there, slow it. Yep, we're through there. You see, it will bobble a bit on the leaf springs, which it has on both the front and the rear. However, it's actually surprisingly refined for what it is, for such a thrown together vehicle. It's just made of the V10 mod and the camper mod and maybe a few other bits if I already had them installed. So it's by no means a bad combo, despite just being thrown together. Anyway, it's just ultimately born from the fact I wanted to try out a camper van, and I also wanted to try out a D-Series. So, you know what, why not combine them? Why not dig up this old mod, which is actually still available on the respiratory, I believe, and give it a try. It still works perfectly. Even though it was made a long time ago, and I don't think it's been updated anytime recently, it still does work perfectly in the game. So, you know what, you can give it a download and see how it is. Or, alternatively, I could just upload this vehicle itself as a config, to the forums and link to all the mods if anyone's interested in driving it for themselves in my exact config. Or, yeah, just play around with the bits yourself, because the joy of BeamNG is actually that you can just config things basically however you want. Now, if I didn't know any better, I wouldn't know there was a camper upfit on the back of this. I just guess it's got, I don't know, a lot of stuff rolling around in the bed. See how smooth it is, though, over these bumps. Wow, I'm going over 60 miles per hour, and I didn't even notice. And that's something with leaf springs on the front and back. It just should not be this refined. It's the same with the ambulance. Leaf springs on the front and back of that. It has no right to be as refined as it is over bumps. You'd think it would be horrible and it wouldn't find its place at all, but it does. Oh dear. Found a bit of a struggle for grip there. Anyway, the V10 camping experience is going quite well. Don't kid me, it's not going to be Viper fast, but in these terrains I reckon it will actually beat a Viper. The Viper will destroy this round of track, and I'm not going to even try and deny that, but if we're talking of the speed of a Viper off the beaten path, this will win. I don't think we're veering to a side, are we? We may be veering ever so slightly to the right, but it's so slight it's not going to really affect anything. How quick was it? The Porsche was 5:04, and when I ultimately booted that at the end, I destroyed my time, but still. We can go. Oh dear, come on, come on, find your traction. Don't want it to bobble about too much. That was not maybe the most refined way of making it up here, but it did it, and it did it without too much fuss. We just made it up. Oh dear. Yeah, you'll see, it will sometimes get thrown up in the sky. It is a big, heavy off-roader with a camper shell on the back after all, but despite that, it's doing a decent job, and a surprisingly decent job at that, of dealing with all of these forces going into it. I think the dually axle as well helped with the small bumps, because most of the time it can act as just a bridge and go right over those bumps. The other thing you have to remember, despite how this is behaving, it is still not four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. You would think watching this, without any context, it's all-wheel drive, I reckon, but it just isn't. The grip is supremely good, even with 300 horsepower. It just grips, you just press go and it grips instantly. I believe this is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Not that that's a problem. I would say I'd like more gears, but then the 4 gears are easily enough to go with this engine, making this amount of power go into this number of wheels, which is actually 4, to be honest. It's 4-wheel drive, actually. It's not all-wheel drive. And it's not 6-wheel drive, but I guess because it's a dually, it's technically 4-wheel drive. I love this thing now. It's easily my best car of the day. Although the Vertex was a nice drive, even in its horrendously broken state, it can't match this. And I wouldn't have thought I'd say this. It's a huge pickup with a camper shell. Yet, I'm saying, regardless of everything, this is the nicest drive of all of them. Oh, I'm hearing a lot of noise. Oof. Maybe I'm just trying to carry more speed because I know it can deal with it. And that's usually when things go wrong, actually, when you just try pushing vehicles. Like, I'll try pushing it round the corner, it'll seem fine, and then it'll just tip right over. Ooh, I'll just let that V10 roar. Lovely. So my first lap, I think, is just ever so slightly quicker than the Porsche, but as I say, I believe we're going to go quick on the second lap. I think it's the same as a Porsche in that respect. It's a rare type of vehicle that is actually so solid and so resilient, it's going to go quicker on the second one. Although with the case of a Porsche, it was more the fact that actually damaging the other wheel axle on the Porsche made it drive better overall, made it veer less. Although I think that Porsche had too much power for the circumstances. I think if it had less power, but otherwise the same config, it would have been better. So maybe if it was just a tuned non-turbo, making about 180 to 200 horsepower, I would say it would probably be better overall around here, just because I would be able to more readily control the power. Like, you see, this has 300 horsepower, but I can control that 300. If it had 500, I probably wouldn't be able to, and I'd lose speed because of it. That is just the nature of these things. You don't want to overload the tyres, but at the same time, you do want to use the grip available. And I feel this walks that line very, very well between the power you have and the power you need. I just love that V10 when it starts to roar. You can remove the exhaust and it sounds a lot more throaty, but I wanted this to still be a semi-realistic vehicle. So, you know what, I did leave the mufflers on stuff from standard. Oh, come on, use that dually grip and just floor it like your life depends on it. 508. That's a bit slower than the Porsche actually now I look. However, we are going so incredibly quick here. I think that might be a new leader here. It's a camper shell. Look, every single part of it is intact. The worst of the damage is the front bumper is slightly bent off, and even so, it's just a cheap plastic piece. This has not only survived exceptionally well, but it's our quickest car. It's so hard to fold. It's almost like I built it specifically for this course, but I didn't. I just wanted something slightly ridiculous. I didn't even give it all-wheel drive, remember? And it's doing this well. So, our final vehicle is a ETK 1300 series with a 6-cylinder diesel engine, and it says 856 TD, should be 1356 TD. Anyway, there is some sidewall, not as much as I would have hoped for, but there is something to it. It's not completely hopeless, and we do have decent suspension travel, even if there isn't actually that much ground clearance to it. So I reckon it'll do okay. It's just the only issue is the front wheel axles just tend to break so easily. So now the ESC is off, yes, like it wasn't before. Anyway, let's go. I do like the torquey nature of the diesel engines, and oh dear, for a start. Nobody saw that. Right. Thing can be quite bouncy. Should figure with a high centre of gravity. Anyway, it's the first real off-roader that we've had. As I say, those wheel axles are not strong. Maybe if I'm a bit gentler it'll be okay. Oh dear, this is not good suspension. It's bouncing quite a bit. Anyway, we've got to try and make it here. In places it's incredibly smooth, and then in places it's not. It's weird. Anyway, oh, there we go. Yeah, looks like the ground clearance is in fact helping. Thankfully it didn't break a wheel axle. See, I'm going here slower than I perhaps should, because I just know if I try and speed over there, it'll do one of two things. It'll either bounce or break something, or both maybe. And I do feel this can be exceptionally quick. It just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's gonna be exceptionally quick if I'm not careful. It is a big vehicle, that's for sure. I mean, although Utah is technically in America, this is perhaps not one of those roads designed for full-size vehicles and SUVs that are, or at least were, common in America. Boop. Anyway, something's up with the steering, but not to the extent it's undrivable. It just feels like it's a bit of suspension alignment. Please don't hit. That was close. The ABS is infinitely helpful though, given this vehicle's problems. the fact that I have ABS to help me along, it feels like it's got leaf springs on the back. I mean, really, you would not think this is a German luxury vehicle the way it bounces on the rear. The front isn't too bad, it's just the rear. Anyway. Dear me, had a bit of a problem there. It wants to veer to the right, slightly, although I can manage it still. It's nothing unmanageable. And I think that's the worst of the course over with now. So any damage done there will persist for the rest of the run, yes, but as long as it's not too bad, yeah. I managed to save that before it did turn into a bad crash, so I believe we can just put it on the road again and try and continue. Oh dear. I guess it was just going too fast. Now that wheel is bent up, but it's by no means undrivable. So again, we can reset it here. I believe fully I'm doing my best. Don't tell me that destroyed the engine. Oh no, it's not destroyed. Again, I'll have to do something about that. I can use manual gearing on this, so that's I think what I'll do. It should help put the power down. Must be kind of paddle shift. It's kind of crabbing along. It's not actually going... it's not going straight, but it is. It's just going straight in a very sideways way. I can tell now, though, if this car is struggling so much as it is, the 800 series probably won't stand much of a chance. Although I reckon we will beat the Tograk just because we made it over that bridge without the same level of damage. Admittedly, though, that was my fault mainly with the Tograk, but still. We are going to get to the end, I think. It's at that stage where things haven't gone wrong enough. I feel the second lap could actually even be quicker than the first lap, weird as it sounds. I just have to get used to the crabbing nature of it. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. No, the second lap is not going to be quicker than the first lap. It is still turning right, though. I believe I had a vehicle like this before, and it wasn't great, but it was turning. Oh dear. That is too close there. The joys of all-wheel drive, though, even if we break a wheel axle at the front, we're still going to be able to go. Same with rear-wheel drive, actually, to be honest. If you break a front wheel axle, you'll still be able to go. That wheel is turning, though. It's weird, it's turning, but it's just been skewed so much that it doesn't really steer in the direction you want it to. It's a shame about the difficulties, though, driving this, because that aside, it could have been incredibly quick. You'll see now, I think we're even going to get across the line in under 5 minutes. No, just over 5 minutes. Amazingly, my radiator is still intact, so we are still going to go. And we tipped it over. Okay. Still. We should be able to turn that way. Yeah, it turns left fine. It just doesn't like turning right at all. But it will turn right. Oh dear. Come on now, straight away. I don't think we're going to make it up here. Now, maybe that was a slope making the turning worse than it actually is. Gently does it here. I will admit, I'm surprised with how weak this vehicle is as far as SUVs go. I'm surprised that it has got as far as it's got. Gently past that rock. Oh dear, oh dear. We are tipping off the cliff here. I think that's something this car has done a lot more than others. Yeah, I may have taken that wheel out completely in my desperate attempts. Come on. Come on, yes. Whirl along. Is this where that really... Oh, no. Can we make it? If it falls off, I'm just going to let it fall off. But it has indeed made it. The reason I say that is because, well, it wouldn't have made it across, because at the speeds we're going at, it would have definitely just been the car and the suspension and the lack of steering causing it. Not me and my lack of driving talent. Come on. We've somehow made it back onto the road after that. By just using the car's own abilities. There we go. Feels like we've lost that front left wheel now and it's actually doing less harm. Just hanging off like it is. We're naturally going incredibly slow around here. But it's still going. And I mean, we've had the first lap, which was not too slow. To be quite honest, take away that struggle where I don't quite know how to get it going, and it's probably going to be quite a competitive lap, all things aside. This will not be quicker. I had to curse the car by saying that. I mean, you know, it's kind of my fault. Yes, the car went, but it was kind of my fault for saying it was going to be quicker on the second lap. Quite gently does it through here. I mean, I have no doubts it's safe. It just doesn't seem like self-preservation is a thing this car can think about. Just preservation of its occupants. I mean, hey, it is an ETK after all. Not exactly the most reliable cars. Front left axle is broken. I thought it was already broken, to be honest. It bewilders me though how this is just keeping going. It shouldn't. Yeah, I said it was good at preserving the safety of its passengers, and then the wheel ends up actually in the passenger footwell somehow. That doesn't seem particularly safe or natural. Yeah, it's just looking at this, it's not going to steer in one direction quite obviously, so I think we can call it quits here. Even if it would make it round the course again, I would never beat that first lap. That's funny, it kind of draws that wheel in when I steer left and then it pushes it out when I steer right. Very strange. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for today. And until next time, I'll say goodbye until another day.